Here we go. Welcome to the call, to the Go Diamond call. Thursday is quickly becoming a skills day. And I think that it's really important that we learn the skills involved with building a network marketing business. If we were going to drive a car, we would spend some time developing the skills to do that effectively. And the same is true here. My name's Karen Hill, and I'm a double diamond up in Canada, just a couple of hours outside of Toronto, so I'm on the East Coast. I encourage all of you, as you're listening to these calls, to be thinking about the skills that you may want to develop, because this is your call. It's all about you, and I would love to get some suggestions from you. You can certainly connect with me on social media, and by all means, give me your suggestions on the skills that you think you need to learn more about to build your business, and I'd love to share some of those ideas that come directly from you. This morning, we're going to talk a little bit about the skill of explaining just exactly what is residual income or leveraging. Often you hear those words thrown about quite frequently in people's testimonials. They come into this business because of the residual income or the leverage component of it. So you hear them used, but how do you explain that to someone who has no experience with this industry of network marketing? And why is that important? It's important because the ordinary person that has never experienced the industry of network marketing really can't understand how an ordinary person just like themselves can create extraordinary incomes over a relatively short period of time. It's hard for them to conceive or even begin to understand. In fact, there are studies that show that individuals can only perceive the concept of double the income that they're making. Anything beyond that, they can't even imagine. So they can stretch and perceive if they're making $50,000 a year in income, they can maybe see themselves and see that $100,000 and see that that's possible. They don't necessarily think that they can achieve it, but they can see that it's a possibility. But beyond that, the idea of making $100,000 a month, they can't even perceive. So it's important that you can explain these two particular concepts, residual income and leveraging. And what's important is that when you're explaining to the ordinary person that they can achieve these things, it's not in 30 days, it's not in 60 days, it's not in 90 days. In fact, the first 30, 60, 90 days is the period where people can get a return on their initial investment. That's an important concept. Many times when we start a business, it's a year or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years before you're seeing a significant return on your initial investment to start that business. In this case, the first 30, 60, 90 days is a return on their initial investment in starting this business. That's significant. But you want them to see the bigger picture. You want them to see that in the next 2 to 5 years, an ordinary person can create extraordinary income through their efforts in network marketing. So we're going to talk a little bit about why this is important. We're taught that income is a direct relationship to 4 different things. So through our life, we're taught that income is a direct relationship to education. So get a good education, you get a good job. So we know that to be a dentist is going to pay more than being a dental assistant. We know that doctors and lawyers, they take a long time through the education process, but they create an environment where you can create a significant income. So we know that. We're taught that by our parents, by the school system. We're taught that concept. We're also taught that there is a relationship between the hours that we work and the income that we receive. You know, if you need to make ends meet, get a second job, get a third job, work more hours, right? So we understand that concept. We're taught that from an early age. We're also taught that location sometimes makes a difference. So if you're willing to go to a remote location, you can, for the same job, create additional income based on the fact you're living in Alaska versus living in a metropolitan area. So to go to a remote location, many people are aware that if you're a police officer or if you're a teacher and you go to a remote location, you can create additional income based on where you are living and doing that occupation. We also understand from a very young age that there are occupations, there are set limits, and it doesn't matter sort of how good you are or how effective you are or how much you try, you can't make any more than what that set amount for that occupation is, i.e. teachers. Teachers can make a certain amount of income, and that's it. It doesn't matter how good you are, how great you are, how devoted you are to your students. It doesn't make a difference because that set occupation has a set scale that they are paying, and you can't achieve anything greater in that particular occupation. So those are the things that we're accustomed to. Those are the things that we're taught. We're never taught the concept of creating an income and using residual component or using a leveraged component to change the possibilities for the average individual. So you've got to, when you're sitting down with your prospects who are looking at this business, you need to explain those concepts because we're just really not taught them. People may be somewhat familiar with residual income. Basically, the definition for that is you do something once and get paid over and over again. And so they may be familiar if you point out to them if you write a song. Every time that song is played, you receive a residual income. Not very much each time it's played, but it's a small percentage of a residual income. If you write a play, there's a residual income. Every time that play is produced in a particular venue, you get a small residual income. So you're not having to rewrite the play, you're not having to rewrite the song or re-sing the song. Every time it is used, you get a residual income. If you invent something and patent it, when that patent is used, you can create a residual income. You never have to invent anything else, and you get a residual income. I have an uncle who invented powdered detergent and created a residual income for that for years. Network marketing is the fourth way that you can create a residual income. And how you do that in network marketing is you present the Zija business, either the business or the products, to someone. And so you do that today. You enroll them, and then you place them on the auto ship. And the auto ship is the residual income. It's not the enrolling. And that's why it's such an important piece of our business, and it's the piece that you hear first. When you go to sign somebody up, the first thing that they say at customer support is, what do you want on auto ship? Or the first screen that comes up on your computer is, what do you want on auto ship? Because that's the residual part of our business. So just bringing somebody on board is not the residual, it's putting them on auto ship. And let me explain that. If you've got 5 people that you've introduced either to this business or as a preferred customer, those 5 individuals are each and every period getting an auto ship. And let's assume that that auto ship is $100, although we know that it's somewhere between $100 and $200 is more like the average. But let's assume it's just 100. So 100 times 5 people is $500 worth of volume times 10%. Let's say we're getting 10%. I know that we get 10% on our lesser leg, but let's just assume it's 10% and not worry about the lesser or greater leg. But at 10%, that's $50 worth of residual income. So every time you put 5 people on auto ship, you've got an approximate $50 residual income. You've got 10 people on it. You never do anything more with those individuals. Maybe they're just product users. That's $100. 10 times 100 equals 1,000 times 10% is $100 worth of residual income. If it's 100 people, it's $1,000 worth of residual income. If it's 500, it's 5,000. 1,000 people, it's $10,000 worth of residual income. You don't have to do anything past the first introduction. All the rest is done. Corporate sends out that auto ship every single period. Period after period after period after period after period. You continue to create that residual income. So that's what residual income is. And most people never experience residual income. They're just trading time for dollars over and over and over again. Just because you worked this week at a job and you did something doesn't mean that you're going to get paid next week. You've got to go back into work, don't you? And it doesn't matter whether you've assisted anybody in becoming more proficient at your company. You've got to go back into work. There is no residual income. It doesn't matter what you do. You've got to go back to work the week after, the week after that, the week after that to get paid. Put people on auto ship and you'll get paid period after period based on the work that you did in past. So that's one of the keys to creating a significant income, is that I don't have to repeat the work every single period. My income is based on the things that I did when I started with this company a little over a year ago. That's my income today, and I'm getting paid on it, and I will continue to get paid on it period after period after period. Now let's talk a little bit about leverage. Hopefully that has helped you understand what residual income is and how to describe that to the average person. Let's talk a little bit about leverage. And what is leverage? And I have a number of ways that I will describe leverage to the average individual that has no concept. And so I'm going to go through some of those, and you may pick or choose the one that you particularly like. One of the ways that I talk about leveraging is by referring to Robert Kiyosaki. And some of you may be aware of his series, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He also has a book that's specifically for the network marketing industry called The Business of the 21st Century. So Robert Kiyosaki has developed a cash flow quadrant. It's relatively simple. If you've got a piece of paper in front of you, I want you to draw a great big plus sign on your piece of paper. So great big plus sign. And in the top left-hand quadrant of that plus sign, I want you to put a big E. In the bottom left-hand quadrant, a big S. In the top right-hand quadrant, you're going to put a big B. And in the bottom right-hand quadrant, you're going to put a big I. Now, what do these stand for? These stand for the ways that we can create income. There are 4 distinctive ways that we can create an income. When we look at the E quadrant, that stands for employment. So you're an employee. And obviously you create an income based on going to work and doing a job. And for the most part, it's an hourly wage for many people. Sometimes it's a salary, but you go to work on Monday, you'll work X number of hours times X pay, and you get paid on Friday based on that activity, right? There's no additional income. It ends on Friday. It doesn't matter what you did as far as productivity, it ends. If you put in place a program that makes millions for the company, it doesn't matter that week. You don't get paid anything extra. You've got to come back to work the following week to continue to create an income. You may have trained someone and assisted in that person becoming productive for the company this week. They're not going to pay you anything for that. It's literally Monday to Friday times so many hours, and you create an income. Most people, that's how they create their income. Some people get a little bit frustrated by that and then think, you know what, I could do better on my own, and I'm going to become self-employed. And so they go out and they hang their business sign, but that business, being self-employed, is still primarily about them. And so there are some professions, like dentists or doctors or lawyers, who are often self-employed just based on their profession. But like I said, in other times, it's individuals who have been employees, have learned a skill set, and decided that they are going to become self-employed. But the income is still based primarily on your efforts. I mean, if the dentist isn't there, there's not a lot going on, is there? If you go away as a small business owner and maybe you're the only person, or maybe you have one or two or a dozen employees, it's still based on you. So you go away on vacation, there's no paycheck at the end of the month because you're not there. The activity is still primarily based upon you. So that's self-employed. That's the S. Top right-hand corner is a B. Now, this stands for business owner, and you might say, well, you just described that. You just talked about it, Karen. Aren't self-employed and a business owner the same thing? They're not. When it comes to a business owner, we're talking about an individual who has developed a company to the size that it has 500, 1,000 employees. It doesn't matter whether they are there or they are not there. That company is thriving because there are layers of management that are able to move the company forward, whether they are there every single day or whether they are not there. What is occurring as far as the income is not based on the owner's efforts. It's based on the owner getting a little bit of profitability from every one of those employees. So that owner is paying the employees less than the productivity that they are creating for the company. And that's how the business owner creates their income. So like I said, it doesn't matter whether they're there or not. They're leveraging people to create their income. Investors, that's pretty simple. You've got the money to invest to create money, to create income. Now, at the rates that we're looking at today as far as investments, you better have an awful lot of it to create a little bit of income. But basically, you're leveraging money, and that's how you're creating your income. So you'll notice that on the left side, it's primarily based on your efforts, and you get paid for your efforts. On the right side, you are using leveraging, either leveraging people or leveraging money. Now, when we look at the population in general, 95% of the people create their income on the left side. So they're either employees or they're self-employed. Only 5% of the population create their income on the leverage side. But what's very interesting is if you look at the wealth creation, only 5% of North America's wealth is created on the employee or the self-employed side. On the other side, only 5% create their income through leveraging, but 95% of the country's wealth is created through that leveraging side. You ever heard the saying of the rich get richer? Or working paycheck to paycheck? Well, the rich get richer because of leveraging. Working paycheck to paycheck is pretty self-explanatory. There is no room to create wealth. It's just literally getting through to the end of the month. And Robert Kiyosaki goes on to say it's almost impossible to move from the left to the right-hand quadrant. You may, as a self-employed individual, build a company over your entire career till you get to the point where you're a business owner. That is rare that occurs, but it can. Sometimes it takes multiple generations for that to occur, but you work your entire life to get to a point where you've got some leveraging and you can kick back and that's it. You haven't had a chance to enjoy it. You've had no time freedom, no flexibility, nothing. But he said there is one way to do it, and that one way is network marketing. You can go from the left to the right in a 2 to 5 year period of time and create an income that is leveraging people, and it is giving you the time freedom, the choices, the things that you never could ever imagine when you were on the left side of that quadrant. And so if you haven't had a chance to read Robert Kiyosaki's book, The Business of the 21st Century, I would encourage you to get a copy of that. That's leveraging. That's a simple cash flow method that Robert Kiyosaki has talked about. Those are the ways we can create income. And it's very clear that everyone should be working towards getting to that right-hand side. And the only way the average individual with no additional experience, education, and doesn't matter where you live, what disabilities you may have, everyone can move from that left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant in a 2 to 5 year period of time. Let's talk a little bit more about leveraging and putting it to use within your business. Again, people just can't conceive creating the types of incomes that we create in this industry. One of the things that you can start to leverage right now, absolutely today, is leveraging the time zones that exist within your country. So there are time zones up here in Canada. We have the Atlantic, Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific time. And when we add in the U.S., we've got the time zone that we have in Hawaii. And so we all know that when we're prospecting and talking to people about VIJA, we can kind of call people from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Those are kind of the safe hours, right? You don't want to really get anybody out of bed first thing in the morning or interrupt their routine in the morning. And after 9 o'clock in the evening, it starts to become late if you're calling, unless it's, a really good friend and you know that it's okay. I try to stay within those 9 and 9 hours as far as my prospecting is concerned. But what I can do is extend them, because just because it's 9 o'clock here on the eastern coast, I can start to move to the western coast and still stay within those 9 and 9 perimeters in the evening. So it's 9 o'clock here in the east coast, but if I move out to the west coast Pacific time, it's only 6 o'clock. If I move to Hawaii, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And you can go the opposite direction in the morning. If you're on the west coast, right, and you're up and listening to this call this morning, you get off this call, it's still 6:30 in the morning. A little bit early to call anybody on the west coast. But it's 9:30 in the morning where I am. And so make use and leverage your time. You can extend your time. Consistency, we heard at the convention, is a very important piece in building our businesses. And sometimes we're busy between that 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Period of time, particularly if you're working a job and doing this part-time. There's not a lot of hours in the evening for you to be able to do this, and if you've got small kids, a lot of that 7 to 9 period of time is tied up between homework and getting them fed and getting them to bed, and all of a sudden you go, wow, I got it all done. It's 8:45. I've got 15 minutes left to do my business. Woohoo! But use those time zones and it will extend the period that you have to work. So go beyond your local market and go into the other time zones within the country. And then you can leverage even further. We're an international company. We have markets around the world. The Asian markets are the complete opposite that we are from a timing standpoint. So my organization in Thailand, they are literally going to bed now. And when I get off this call, I will be checking in with some of my leaders there, just making sure they don't have anything that I need to deal with while I'm awake and they're sleeping. And then tonight, I will check in with them when they wake up, and they will work all night long while I'm sleeping. Now, how's that for taking my day from 12 hours of productivity to 24 hours of productivity? So there's something going on in my organization all day, all night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So let's take a look at leveraging an organization. So let's say you are doing this business part-time. You've got 10 hours a week to do this part-time. Now, in the beginning, it's just your 10 hours. It's not a lot, is it? There's not a lot of time, but if you're just very diligent and do the things that will help grow a team, you can take that into a significant number of hours on a part-time basis. And what I mean by that is you've got 10 hours, but as you start to bring on team members, and let's say you've got 5 team members, you just got this little baby team that you're starting with, that 5 people is significant. It might sound like, oh my goodness, there's just 5 of us, that's it. Like it's just a baby team when I look at some of these huge teams, but you've now taken your 10 hours and you've created 50 hours of productivity out of those 10 hours. So how did you do that? You've got 5 people now on your team, each one of them contributing 10 hours each on a part-time basis. So they're doing exactly what you're doing. So 10 hours times 5 people is 50 hours of productivity. So with that little team, you've gone from 10 hours of productivity to 50 hours of productivity. If you've got 10 people on the team, you've got 100 hours of productivity. If you've got 100 people on your team, you've got 1,000 hours of productivity. Think about that. The average pay week is 40 hours. You got 100 people on your team, each one of them putting in a part-time 10 hours a week into their business. You've got 1,000 hours worth of productivity. You got 1,000 people on your team all doing it part-time, and you've got 10,000 hours of productivity in a week. 10,000 hours of productivity, and how much do you account for? You account for 10 of those 10,000 hours, because you're still doing this part-time the same as everybody else. And that's how you can create significant income, is the leveraging of people. And one last way I want to explain it, and then I'm going to open up this call, is through the concept of grass cutting. So let's say you decide, you're a teenager, you decide I'm going to, cut grasses for the summer, and that's how I'm going to create my income to go back to college. So I'm going to cut grass every day, and I'm going to charge $20 to cut a lawn, and I can cut 8 of them a day. They're small lawns, so I can do $20 per lawn times 8 of them, or I can make $160 every single day cutting grass. Now, it's pretty hot. I don't know about you guys and where you live, but in July and August, it's pretty darn hot. It's not going to be easy work. You're going to be sweating, and it's going to be tiresome to do those 8 every single day, but you can create $160 by doing that. But you're going to be sweating like there's no tomorrow. Or you can say, you know what, I want to leverage to create my income. And you can go, and just like you need money to go back to school, you can probably find 10 friends that also want to create money to go back to school. And so what you're going to do is create that team of 10 friends. And you're going to pay them that $20 a lawn to cut, and they can do 8 a day the same as you could. So that's $160 times your 10 friends. You're going to have a $1,600 daily expense to get those lawns cut. Now your job is going to be to go out and get the clients that will need their lawns cut. I mean, that's ultimately your job, is to go after and find the people that want the benefit of having their lawn cut. And what's that benefit? Well, they get to come home on the weekends and put their feet up instead of having to work Saturday morning and cutting the lawn. So you're selling the benefit of having their lawn cut and ready for them so that they don't have to do it themselves and spend time on the weekend. So you go out and you start to market, and you're charging $25 to have that lawn cut. So $25 times 8 per day, that's what your friends are going to be able to come in, bring in an income for you. So 20 times 8 lawns per day times the 10 friends that you put together to create this team, you've got a daily income of $2,000. So $25 a lawn that you're charging, 8 lawns per day by each person that's working underneath you, times the 10 friends that are working underneath you. That team of individuals creates a daily income of $2,000. So you've got an income of $2,000 less the expenses. It's going to cost you $1,600 because you're charging $25 a lawn, and you're paying your friends $10 of that. So 2,000 subtract 1,600 is $400 worth of daily profit through leveraging. Now, would I rather have $400 worth of leveraged income? And my job was to go out in the winter and early spring and set up the lawns. Now I don't do anything all summer at all, and I make $400 a day. Or I could have gone out there myself and just done it and made $160, sweated my butt off doing it, and I don't only made $160 a day. There is a benefit in leveraging. Now, is it taking advantage of your friends? Absolutely not taking advantage of your friends. Your friends didn't have to go out and set up the lawns to cut and do all of that part of it. They're just happy to be able to create an income. And it's no different in network marketing. Am I taking advantage of those and because I was in before them? No. I'm creating an opportunity where they can create the income that they desire. And so that's what leveraging is. It's not just because you're part of the team, it's because you're part of a team. You've created success, and that success is ultimately how I get paid. I don't get paid just because you're there. I get paid because I've helped you create success, and that's leveraging. And that's why between the residual component of our business and the leveraged component of our business, that's why we can make these extraordinary incomes in a relatively short period of time. I'm not talking 30, 60, 90 days. Don't just sign on the line and create this massive walk-away income. I'm talking a 2 to 5 year plan of putting in place a team that will create significant income, not just for yourself, but for hundreds and thousands of individuals who are part of Zija. And that is a thrill to be able to be part of something that you don't have to knock anybody off the ladder to succeed. You can support and help those below you to have success, and ultimately you will go wherever you want this business to take you. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what's coming up. We heard a couple of announcements at the beginning of this call. I'm going to open up the lines here in a moment so that you can announce what's going on in your particular area. We have presentations in Australia. If you're looking for something in a leveraged time zone, Australia is an example of using another time zone. And we've got Ryan Palmer flew there yesterday. He'll be doing some presentations with Dr. Josh Plant in Australia over the next few days. We also have tonight in Grand Rapids, Michigan, we have a presentation, the Life Unlimited tour, follow-up from our convention, is in Grand Rapids tonight. Saturday they'll be in Greensboro, North Carolina, and next Thursday we'll be up here in Canada. So if you've never sponsored internationally, Canada, for those of you that are listening from the United States, may be your first international sponsorship, and we're going to be in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which is on the west coast. It's the complete opposite end of me, so don't send me a message saying, Karen, I'm going to send a guest, can you talk with them, because it's literally a 3-hour plane ride away from me. I won't be in Edmonton, but there are some great individuals that will be in the Edmonton area for that tour stop. So that's next Thursday night. So I'm going to open up the lines and love to hear your comments, questions, and announcements that maybe that you have locally. So hold on here a second.
All right, Karen, I want to thank you. This is being out here in Canada. Also, I want to announce Saturday, November 9th, and for Schultz, Gold Executive, and Alexandra, Ron Executive, will be doing a meeting in the Vapo Check Your Event Center. Everything's posted with regard to our Life Unlimited tour. We've got Moses, we've got Chris Estes, and we've got Russ Bianchi on November 23rd. But please don't just wait for the 23rd. In California, work your business so your guests can bring guests, so their guests can bring guests. Thank you for the training. Thank you for all the knowledge and wisdom you share.
So that's Northern California, for those people that have guests that people that you know in Northern California. Some great events coming up there. Anybody else? All right, well, if there's nobody else, thank you for joining us this morning. Be sure to check the upcoming calls that are occurring on this line every evening. You get a chance to open the business to your prospects, and I look forward to being with you again next Thursday. So bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Karen and Grandma Scalper Schultz. Awesome as always. You are incredible. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thanks, Bye.